I'm going to be posting a series of videos discussing hypnosis and hypnotism, starting with this one. Probably not very many, maybe 4 or 5 scattered throughout, but the reason I'm doing it is primarily for people to become aware. Now, I don't think, I mean, millions of people have gone to hypnotherapists who are ethical in their practice and who are genuinely interested in helping their clients, and this is good. But as a clinical hypnotherapist myself, I want to warn the public that if they are ever going to have hypnosis done, that they really do need to know the moral turpitude of the hypnotist involved, whether they have a PhD to their name or whether they're simply what the PhDs call lay hypnotists. And really anybody who's trained professionally in clinical hypnotherapy, whether they have a PhD or not, is fully qualified to do to work the techniques. But nonetheless, there's a lot of misinformation out there about hypnosis. First off, not everyone responds the same to hypnotism. In a certain select group of people, roughly about 10 to 15% of the population, they are completely and totally unresponsive to hypnosis. And then you have on the other extreme 10 to 15% who are known as natural somnambules. Just because of the way their brains are wired, they are basically putty in the hands of a hypnotist. They are completely vulnerable, and unlike the vast majority of the population that can remain relatively in control of themselves, true somnambulals could easily become victimized. Not only can they go into hypnosis easily, in fact, so easily in fact that even an inexperienced hypnotist who's just playing with it, who doesn't have any real training in the technique but knows some basics, could put them into deep trances. The reason this is dangerous is because if you happen to fall within that 10 or 15%, and really there's no way to tell until you are hypnotized where you fall and how susceptible you are to the technique. Lots of people say, well, I can't be hypnotized. There's no way I can be hypnotized. Well, there's a lot of people out there who think they can't be hypnotized, and yet they might be the best candidates for the technique. It has nothing to do with how intelligent you are or how gullible you are. It has to do with how your brain is wired, the genetic makeup of your brain. And they've actually begun to prove this out in just about, I think it was 2002, Scientific American came out with a article on hypnotism where they did some experiments. Hypnosis is able to produce audio, visual hallucinations, olfactory hallucinations of the sense of smell, different things. Hypnosis in the right subjects can create hallucinations of all of the senses and create distortions as well as complete and total amnesia for anything that happened during hypnosis. But there are many, many records throughout history of unethical hypnosis being used. This idea floating around that nobody can be hypnotized against their will, and that once hypnotized they won't do anything that they find morally repugnant against their will once hypnotized, is really, that is not an entirely accurate statement. That all depends largely upon how their brain is wired. If they happen to fall within that 10 or 15% of the population that are just naturally susceptible to the technique, they can and will be hypnotized against their will. In fact, it should probably be answered not so much, it shouldn't be asked, can a person be hypnotized against their will, as much as can a person be hypnotized without their consent. The answer to that is definitely yes. Any trained hypnotherapist, such as myself, knows of techniques in which we can put people into hypnosis through disguised method, through hidden technique. to where it just appears to the person to be a normal, average conversation. These techniques were developed largely by Erickson, who did a tremendous amount of work in hypnotism. One really extensive work on unethical hypnosis that is available out there to the public if they want to get it and find out more about it. And I would encourage you to do it. And it also goes into CIA mind control techniques and whatnot, and how hypnosis and narco-hypnosis played into that. Because even if somebody's typically not susceptible to hypnosis, when you combine it with certain narcotic medications, then they become exceedingly open to hypnosis. And once, of course, triggers are established and certain key elements are put into even a person's mind that's not normally susceptible to hypnosis, and once it's in the deeper recesses of the mind, the reactive mind will respond to it fatefully, without fail. But anyway, the name of the book is Secret Don't Tell, and just type that in and do a web search. You should be able to find it. Secret Don't Tell goes into talking about some of the historical cases. In fact, I even have a movie. It was starred Jodie Foster. It was called Mesmerized. It was based upon the Victoria Thompson case of the 1800s. It was a well-publicized case where she left behind in her diaries after her death how she had actually committed murder by getting her husband to drink poison while in a deep hypnotic state. Of course, he didn't believe in hypnosis either. You don't have to believe in hypnosis to have it affect you. In fact, one of the biggest hypnotic tools available today for those people who are unethical is the television set. The television causes people to relax. It puts them into an altered state of consciousness without them even realizing it. They're in a trance. It puts them into an alpha brainwave pattern, which is largely where much of the effects of hypnosis takes place. So I'm going to go ahead and make some tapes to educate people on hypnosis. The unethical uses of hypnosis are definitely a viable thing. And the unfortunate thing is that because of the prejudice or for whatever reason, governments deny it. Professionals in psychiatry and psychology deny it. They say that hypnosis is safe. Actually, hypnosis is not completely benign, and there is historical evidences to base this on. There are court cases to base it on from the past. But inevitably, all the experts say, well, you know, if somebody carries out something that is antisocial due to a hypnotic or a post-hypnotic suggestion, well, it's their fault, because really they can't be hypnotized to do anything against their will, so they just use that as an excuse to do an immoral or criminal act. Well, that's a real good way to pawn it off. And of course now we've got the social psychologists who want to downplay the power of hypnosis altogether. And the government, I'm sure, is right behind them. They don't want the public to know the true dangers of hypnotism. They want people to go ahead and adopt hypnosis as well as other hypnotic techniques that lead to deeper states in certain individuals, such as visualization and guided imagery, which are other names, nothing more than other names for hypnotism. Rapid eye therapy, same thing. They want to get people involved in these things so that they can seize hold of the minds of the 10 or 15% of the people that are vulnerable. And it doesn't matter what you call it, hypnosis still has powerful effects. The reason the social scientists want to say that it's a social construct, that the people are just carrying out what they believe a hypnotized subject to be, is because they want to downplay the power, make people feel safe. And that's also why the hypnotherapists themselves will say, well, you can't be hypnotized against your will, and you won't do anything against your will once you're hypnotized that violates your moral code. Well, that's to make people feel safe with the technique. I mean, honestly, how many people out there would actually give themselves over to a total stranger and allow their minds to be messed with by a total stranger if they thought that there was a possibility that that person could basically wind up controlling them hypnotically at some future point? Something to think about anyway. But I will be posting more information on this and giving people a real deep rundown on hypnosis, and probably about 3 or 4 tapes.